All right, guys, so we got to talk about probably one of the most embarrassing interviews that I've ever seen in my life.
So when people talk, they should go research the numbers of back then and then research my numbers and compare. I'm putting that together just so I can show the public, because now it's all about showing people that everybody been lying this entire time doing a smear campaign. So now I'm going to show them, and then now you judge. Because y'all all judging, meaning people out there are judging off of hearsay, false allegations, and not facts. Get facts first, and then make your judgment.
Take me through.
And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video, okay? Because this video is 40 minutes long, but I put in hours of research into this video because I had to bring the receipts. Because this interview right here that Roland Martin conducted with Miss Tiffany Henyard, it is embarrassing. And not just for Miss Tiffany Henyard, who is being interviewed, but for the interviewer, Roland Martin, okay? Because this guy is going to fail to hold her accountable for the clear and obvious lies that she's going to tell in his interview. And quite honestly, this guy should be ashamed. He should be embarrassed, and maybe he should quit his job, right? I'm so serious. That's how bad this interview is, because Miss Tiffany Henyard, the ghetto city girl mayor of Dolton, Illinois, and the supervisor of the Thornton Township, is facing a whole lot of criticism, in which she has come under a lot of scrutiny and heat for alleged corruption. We're talking about stealing taxpayer dollars, going on luxurious trips on taxpayer funds to do things that don't really have to do with the business of the town, changing her salary so that if she doesn't get reelected, the next person that gets elected has a lower salary, which is basically discouraging people from running against her, donating taxpayer funds to her charities, using taxpayer funds to basically do campaign promotions by putting her face on billboards funded by the town, which again basically is campaign advertisement. She's been accused of putting out hits on political opponents, assassination attempts. She's been accused of shutting down businesses that refuse to support her politically. Again, she's been accused of all types of stuff, and the people that are getting hurt by this the most, a majority of the people that are getting hurt, happen to be black. So you would think that Mr. Pro-Black Roland Martin would be tough on this woman the same way that he's tough on black conservatives and black Trump supporters.
We could go start a black voter IDs matter and go help people go get their IDs. I mean, these are things we could do.
Yeah, but,
So
you keep going back to ID as if that's the only issue, and that's not the only issue.
That's not the only thing. I'm just saying, like, that's one of the issues.
No, that's one.
There.
That's one. I read for you about 10 of them. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one particular thing right there. So, but what's interesting though is that again, you're wrong, Congressman. You're wrong. I'm asking you a series of questions in terms of how you voted on particular bills that, and for the black community, in terms of where issues are. George Floyd Justice Act. How did you vote?
Wait, say that again. You broke.
George Floyd Justice Act. How did you vote?
Oh, I didn't vote for that bill. I voted against it. And the reason why I voted against that bill is because of qualified immunity. I think the qualified immunity provisions in that bill are actually going to be very harmful.
Consent. Oh, my God. Are you just sitting here just making shit up?
You're asking me about Trump.
No, you're making stuff up.
Questions. And now you're throwing in Rand Paul and
No, I'm throwing in facts. I'm throwing in facts.
You're asking me questions and I'm answering them.
No, you're not answering. What you're doing is you're doing what Trump is doing. You're just making shit up.
So there's no
dude, the platinum plan was a plan. It was never enacted.
Exactly. I know.
And he also said,
I know that.
Trump said,
you know why it wasn't enacted?
Why?
Because of the black drove of people who went and got this guy elected. The droves of blacks who were stuck on.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Tough questions from Roland Martin, okay? Clearly, he brings the smoke. He brings the heat when it comes to debates and interviews with black conservatives and black Trump supporters. Because remember, according to the left, we are the biggest problem with black folks in this country. Not the criminals, okay? Not the corrupt Democrat politicians, not Democrat policies. No. It's the black conservatives and the black Trump supporters, okay? This is why we get all of the heat from the so-called pro-black liberals / progressives who, in my opinion, they are not really pro-black, okay? What they do is that they disguise their pro-democrat, pro-liberalism, pro-progressive ideology behind this facade of pro-blackness. And I think that Roland Martin is one of those people because again, in this interview, he had the opportunity to hold his mayor accountable with some real questions about how she's treating her people, allegedly treating her people in her township, in her community. A lot of them happen to be black, okay? And he completely drops the ball with a softball interview that is so embarrassing that if you read his comment section, they are roasting him. His whole comment section, I mean, his own followers are like, yo, this is embarrassing, right? You should actually take this down. You should do some research, okay? So I'm going to break down different segments of this interview and just show you how bad this is, okay? That Roland Martin clearly is not prepared for this interview. He did not come here with the same agenda that he would come to this interview with had this been somebody that's not on his side of the political aisle. So I'm going to talk about it, but I got to tell you guys, this interview is too long for me to break down everything. I'm just going to break down the main parts of where I think Roland Martin really dropped the ball. He didn't really press her as much as he should have pressed her. The first part that I'm going to break down here is about the spending and the debt, okay? And one of the complaints against her is that she is not allowing the trustees to pay the bill. She's not showing the trustees what she's actually spending money on, and that is why the bills are not being paid.
We are in a deficit, but it's not what everybody's claiming it to be. They're going around with false allegations of $5 million, $7 million, $8 million. It's all false. Our deficit is $2 million.
$2 million.
$2 million.
And what's your annual budget?
Our annual budget is $30 million.
$3 million? $30 million.
Yep.
And so what led to that deficit?
So it comes from them not paying bills. So say, for instance, we have a board meeting and they say, well, we're going to pull this out, pull that out. If they continue to pull bills out, later on, what do you have? A deficit, because the bills still due. Just like us not paying our mortgage or not paying our light bill. We still owe the money at the end of the month.
When you say they, who's they?
The trustees, the board. Because the board is the one that votes to pay the bills.
So so you have two types of government out there. You got strong mayor, city council, then you have city manager form of government. So mayor and the trustees control the city's finances.
Well, yes, when it comes to the budget, just the budget.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So in terms of who's deciding to pay the bills, so this deficit that you have, you're saying that's a result of the trustees not paying the city's bills?
Correct.
But do you have the resources?
Yes.
To pay the bills?
Yes.
So how's there a deficit?
Because they won't pay the bills. So it's still on our books. Until we release the check and pay the bill, we still count it as a deficit.
So you're saying, so you have the money to pay the bills.
Correct.
You're saying your fellow trustees won't pay the bills.
Correct. I'll give you prime example, just to make me look bad. I'll give you prime example. My job is to govern. That's what a mayor does. I'm an executive branch, they're the legislative branch. When I go get money and bring back to our community, many grants, they refuse to pay things for residents. I created a roof and window program. They would not vote to pay the vendors to fix the roof and windows for our seniors and our veterans. Why? The money's there, it's in a bank account, you can see it. Why would they not pay the bill? So therefore, that program got on hold. These are things I created when I became the mayor of Dolton. But yet, people don't see your vision. It's people trying to take over government, and I won't allow it. They didn't do it prior to the other mayor having it. Why did nobody do any of the things they doing to me?
So when all of this began, this not paying of the city's bills? So
it's funny you asked that question. That's a great question. All this turmoil started right when I became mayor. So that showed me right then and there that the plot was to remove me from office. Right in the beginning, I wasn't even in office for a good month before my board started to sit here and start to try to remove me from my seat that I earned and won by 82%, remind you, 82%, taking out an incumbent that had the seat prior to me.
So when your fellow trustees, let's say Kiana Belcher, she's quoted as saying mismanagement of funds. You're saying, no, it's not mismanagement. They're just not paying bills.
That's correct.
And so when you hear that from her, then what's the response? And if that's the case, have you released publicly the list of bills that they don't pay?
Yes.
And where's that?
So that is normally on my website, or it is on my social media platform. And I verbally say it at board meetings. You can see it when they go and they take out bills. They verbally tell you what they're taking out. Therefore, people can just add it up.
In the council meeting?
In the council meeting. So you can know and you can follow exactly what bills they're not paying. And it adds up. Eventually you get to $1 million, then $2 million. And then also they have legal bills of $2 million of suing me for different reasons, like what you're saying to you.
Who sued you?
The trustees. The trustees. They take me to court for anything they say, right? Then we go to court and I won. I won over 24 cases. Yesterday I just got word I won another case. So I'm 25-0. So how is it possibly the mayor of Dolton?
Yeah, so the amount of lies and deception in that segment is just unbelievable, okay? And I really can't believe that Roland Martin, again, who's so tough on black conservatives and black Trump supporters, didn't follow up with obvious questions about the fact that, well, how are they supposed to pay the bills when allegedly you are locking them out of being able to see the finances after they expose the fact that the village is $7 million in debt.
Fellow village trustees have been fighting to save Dolton.
I am your leader.
They say Mayor Tiffany Henyard is preventing them from doing their jobs and is also blocking them from seeing any of the village spending.
We're asking for credit card statements, we're asking for bank statements, and we're asking for information that help us, assist us as trustees to know how the money is being spent.
There needs to be an ordinance in place so that no future mayor can spend as they want to.
Last night, the Board of Trustees held a special meeting where a resolution was passed that calls for an investigation into Mayor Henyard and village spending. Trustee Norwood says some trustees were locked out of the village's finances when they discovered in September that Dolton was $7 million in debt.
We're able to track receipts for spending, and then we shared it with the public, and once we started sharing it with the public, our access was denied.
The Tribune is reporting that federal authorities, including the FBI, have been investigating Mayor Henyard.
Yeah, so the natural follow-up from Mr. Roly-Poly-Oly, tough guy Roland Martin, should have been, okay, well, what about the allegations that you locked out the trustees, right? You're locking them out. You're not allowing them to see the finances. What about that? Why are they accusing you of that? No, not any of that, right? He just allows her to ramble on and to lie about things like, for example, claiming that the unpaid bills are on her website. If you go to her website, there's literally nothing about the unpaid bills, right? There's no transparency whatsoever in regards to the unpaid bills on her website. And it wasn't until the end of the interview where he actually asked Tiffany Henyard a good question about the fact that, hey, you are allegedly withholding information from these individuals, the trustees, which is why they have to file these lawsuits against you in the first place in order to get the information from you.
One of the things that also, going back to your critics of your trustees, they're alleging financial improprieties. When it comes to documents, they say that you won't turn documents over. When it comes to your city's budget, how is that handled? Is there a city treasurer? Is there a city auditor? Normal operations in the city, there are people who handle those different things. And so when you're a trustee, they can make those requests and those documents are produced. How does it work in Dolton?
Exactly what you just said. Every document we produce, every statement we give them. They sued us. That's another lawsuit they sued us for. And guess what? We won. Because that's why I'm trying to explain to everybody. They just saying stuff. There's no facts to it. We go to court. We prove to the courts that we're doing our job, which is providing them with documentation. Once we give the documentation, guess what? We win our lawsuit. And we've been giving it to them through email. It's in everybody's email. I've showed that in videos. I've showed that at board meetings. And I've showed people that, hey, they said they didn't get it. They get it every single month. All the documents.
But for the people who don't know, explain the process, though.
Okay.
You got a mayor, you got trustees.
Right.
Who are the city employees who that's their job? So do you have a city treasurer?
We have a finance director. We have a CPA, which is our accountants. Yes, and we have auditors. We have all that.
So the finance director should have the financial records for all transactions with the city.
Yes, and she gave them to him. That's my point. Through email. And we showed that. We proved it in court. Once again, we won in court. We won. They said that, but then we showed y'all that they was lying by producing an email showing we gave them every document they needed. But they go and they put on this show for the world and then want to sit here and criticize people by saying she's doing wrong. I'm not doing wrong. I'm proving it every single time I win a court case. Again, 25-0. They ain't won not one court case. But they keep saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's not true. Because we go to court for everything they claim I'm doing. But every time we go to court, I win. If I'm doing wrong, why am I steady winning? That can't be true. That's the narrative they put out. I have 2 powerful seats. One, I'm the mayor. The other, I'm the supervisor. I am over 190,000 votes, whether people like it or not. That can sway an election, no matter what people say. I am an influencer. They only go out to people that can influence people's minds. And right now I have the youth. I got everybody that loves Tiffany Henyard because I've been doing it since day one, since I was a trustee, where I did 2 terms.
But later on in the interview, though, he did go on to press one of the trustees who is speaking out about Tiffany Henyard's corruption and out of control spending. He pressed him about, well, why are you guys not doing your jobs when it comes to trying to get the financial information, in which the trustee then had to explain to Roland that we have been doing our job. We have voted to try to get the financial information. And also, by the way, Tiffany Henyard did not win 25 lawsuits. That's a lie.
If you have city staff and if the Board of Trustee votes for something, how are you not getting it from city staff? Who is controlling that?
All the staff report directly to the mayor's office. And it's been documented by many former employees, and the village has many lawsuits pending right now because because if you do not follow the mayor's directive, then you will be disciplined. You'll be either yelled at, terminated, and that discipline extends to if you provide documentation to the board.
Here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. If the trustees, look, majority rules. If the trustees vote, I mean, you just voted on a resolution for the FBI to come in. If the trustees vote ordering the city auditor or the city treasurer or the city finance director to turn over a financial report by a certain date, then that person is obligated to do so because the board has voted. So are you saying that has that been done and have those individuals defied the Board of Trustees?
Absolutely. That has been done, and they are defying the Board of Trustees, and they're doing so at the mayor's instruction. The employees I believe they're good employees, and they want to do their job, and their job is the mayor is instructing them do not comply, and that's forcing them to violate the ordinance and the wishes of the board.
What do you say when Mayor Henyard says y'all have taken her to court and she's won every time?
That's been an exaggeration. There have not been 24 cases. The primary case that she referenced, talking about failure to provide documentation to the board, is still pending in court. That is going back into court early March.
So that's one case. How many times have the trustees taken the mayor to court?
We have about 5 cases. 3 are ongoing. 2 of them, to my knowledge, 2 of them she was successful.
Okay. So the trustees have sued her on 5 separate occasions.
Yeah, so what's hilarious about this is the fact that it seems like Roland Martin is tougher on the trustees than he is on Ms. Henyard when it comes to his line of questioning, because he fails to ask Ms. Henyard, why is it that you continue to have to be sued in order for these people to get information, right? I mean, I just saw recently that they filed at least three lawsuits in the last few months requesting information, right? These are Freedom of Information Act requests, okay? They're requesting public information. In fact, it's not just the village trustees that are requesting this information and they're not handing it over. You also have an investigative reporter from a local television outlet that said, hey, well, can we get some information, public information about the finances of the village, or what's supposed to be public information? Dolton didn't respond. So then this TV network, this news network, goes to the Attorney General and is like, yo, this village is not responding to our Freedom of Information Act request. Can you step in? So the Attorney General steps in and demands that, hey, you guys need to comply with this request. And the village of Dolton just refuses to respond, right? They just like, nah, we're just not gonna respond. And it happened so many times, right? As you guys can see in this document from the office of the Attorney General of the state of Illinois, they literally reached out to this woman at least 3 or 4 times after they failed to respond to the investigative reporter with the Freedom of Information Act request, right? So he was requesting documentation. They forwarded a request for her to respond to them, okay, or for the village to respond to them, and they did it on December 27th, January 11th, January 26th, and they just didn't respond after 3 requests. And then on January 30th, the village emailed the investigative reporter a letter with 5 copies of the records with redactions that were attached. However, no records were attached in the email, right? So now the Attorney General's office had to issue a binding opinion basically saying that, yeah, you have failed to respond to the Freedom of Information Act request, and they're demanding that they turn over the documents, right? You have to turn over the documents to this investigative reporter, okay? This is what is happening. Again, it's amazing how Roland Martin didn't ask about that, okay? If they're not responding to the Attorney General of the state, why do you think that she's actually giving over information to the trustees? Why would you take her word for it? Okay, why would you believe any of that? This is the type of stuff that should have been brought up to her and say, well, why are you not responding to the Attorney General when it comes to information that is being requested by investigative journalists when it comes to the finances of the village, right? Because again, what this all comes down to is transparency. That's what people want. And we know why she doesn't want to be transparent, because when there was transparency, people could clearly and obviously see that this woman was spending taxpayer dollars on things that she should not have been spending taxpayer dollars on. Like, for example, allegedly, she explained how her inauguration party cost $15,000, in which Henyard claimed that, hey, my campaign is going to pay for that. But instead, she charged the village for it. Also, in the fall of 2022, she went over the village leaders' heads, right? The board's heads, and she decided to build a ice skating rink on public land at a cost of $115,000, putting down a $10,000 down payment. And when the board found out, they halted the construction of the ice rink, but then she turned around and ordered a separate company to go ahead and continue to install the ice rink, and then turned around and bragged about it on social media that she spent this $115,000 despite the board saying no.
Hey y'all, it's your mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor. We here in the village of Dolton and we about to get our skate on. Remember, when all 5 of them trustees said no, look what God did. Hey y'all, it's your mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor. We here in the village of Dolton and we about to get our skate on. Remember, when all 5 of them trustees said no, look what God did.
Yeah, so she's straight up bragging about how she's spending taxpayer dollars when the trustees are telling you no, that we don't approve of this, but she's doing it anyways. Again, Mr. Tough Guy, Roland Martin, should have asked her that question. Well, why did you brag about spending money that the trustees said you couldn't spend? Now, again, according to Miss Tiffany Henyard, oh, well, the trustees don't want me to spend money on these public works because they want me to look bad, right? But was that also the reason why they had an issue with the fact that you spent over $100,000 on a Tahoe, on a vehicle that the town did not need, that was not approved by the board, the trustees, and then you lied about signing off on the paperwork to get the vehicle that the town did not sign off on?
But at the end of the day, nobody comes here to argue with you. Nobody at all. There are bills that we have the right to take off. We have the right to make decisions about. You say that you're running it at the end of the day, because this is going to be the narrative. When we go broke, you're going to say, I wasn't even on the bank account. The trustees did it. When at the end of the day, you're making decisions and spending money and then get mad when we don't approve it because it's not financially sound. I sat here and looked at a lease that y'all's paying $149,000 for one of them trucks. You make absolute, that's like when you 19 years old and you go get a car and the interest rate 27%. That makes absolutely no sense. You're
Please
not making
facts.
great finance, excuse me?
Please state facts.
But let me tell you, here it is, dated December 27, 2022, the cash price of a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, $93,216.71. Interest and APR, $55,929.49. Total lease price, $149,146.20. Tell me if it's not facts, because your signature is all on it.
I don't see that.
Okay, but you want me to pay?
I don't.
All right.
I'll
but
get
at
my
the
statement
end,
in a
at
few
the
minutes
end
when
of
you
the
finish.
day, it's not about going back and forth with you. It's about making financial decisions that is in the benefit of everybody and just not one person. And you can't seem to understand that. Have a great day.
Yeah, so that clip is from 4 months ago, guys, right? In which that lady basically said exactly what this woman was going to do is when the town goes broke, which the town is broke, she's going to blame it on the trustees and say, well, the trustees aren't paying the bills, right? The trustees are the ones that are the problem, but yet you're turning around and spending all this money on things that we don't need, and then you get mad when we don't approve of it, right? Which is exactly what she's doing in this interview with Roland Martin, right? It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So anyways, on to the next part of the interview that Roland Martin dropped the ball on, okay? Because as the supervisor of Dolton, she gets paid about $225,000 a year, which is kind of ridiculous considering how I think that's actually more than the governor of Illinois. And then on top of that, as mayor of Dolton, she gets paid another $50K. Now, she's been accused of dropping the supervisor salary for the township of Dolton from $225,000 or so down to $50K, $25K in order to dissuade other people from running against her. Take a look.
What took place with the change in pay for the Dolton position? Yeah, what your critics say is you led an effort to cut the salary if you don't get re-elected, but the salary stays the same if you are re-elected.
And see, that's again what I mean by research and what I say in the media and everybody doing the smear campaign. It's an ordinance already on the books. They didn't tell you that, right?
No, what's the ordinance?
The ordinance is on the books. My predecessor, he created that ordinance, and it's already there. That if he was to run or not run, that the salary drops. It's already there.
Okay, so you're saying prior to you coming there, that was that his decision, or was that the Dolton Township trustees' decision?
Well, it's them as a group because they have to vote on it. It's
right.
Ordinance form, so yes, it was everybody's decision.
So you're saying that predated you?
Yes, and it's there. I have the proof for it. Yes.
Okay, so the salary is currently what?
For myself, $224.
So when there's the next election, then if the current supervisor is not reelected, then it drops to what?
25.
Do you know what the rationale was for that?
Well, it was, like I just stated, it was already on the books, but no one did the research. They went and did this whole story of, hey, Tiffany did X, Y, Z. Now, don't get me wrong. We did cut the prior salary was $50K.
So, sorry, cut what?
$50,000. The ordinance that I'm talking about.
Right.
It was $50,000 that they created. Now, we cut it in half. We did do that because everybody said we make too much money. So we did do that. Okay, but
it was cut from what, 224 to 50?
No.
What I'm trying to say, what was 50?
The ordinance that they created.
Okay.
Meaning the previous person before me. That's what they created before me. So it was $50,000. So no matter what or who ran against that person, it was already dropping to those numbers.
It was dropping from
whatever their salary was, which is the $224
to
$50,000.
Okay, and then when you came in,
I dropped it to $25,000. All I did was cut the 50
to 25
in half.
And why was that?
Because everyone said the salary was too high. So all I did was just reduce it by half. That's it. But do you understand what I'm saying? It was already on the books. It was never going to stay to something, ever. It was always going to drop down.
And you're saying that predated you?
It does, yes. We have the ordinance. If you like the ordinance, we can give it to you.
What is your relationship with the township trustees? Because again, there are two different entities here.
Correct.
How many trustees are you dealing with the city of Dolton?
6.
6? How many are you dealing with Dolton Township?
4.
Okay, so do you have issues with the Dolton Township?
Yeah, so this is another blatant lie from Miss Tiffany Henyard that, again, Roland Martin, because he failed to do basic research before doing this interview, did not follow up with her in the correct way about the fact that, well, first and foremost, this procedure that you're doing clearly is not constitutional, and you cannot tie the salary of an elected official to the person. You have to tie it to the position itself.
She makes a whopping $224,000 a year. Now, Dolton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wants to cut the salary of her position by nearly $200,000. What a great move for taxpayers, right? Well, the pay cut only happens if someone else gets that job.
It's maybe the worst attempt to try to dissuade people from running that I've ever seen, and that's a long time.
Longtime municipal attorney Bert Odelson says he was stunned when he saw the latest move by controversial Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, who also doubles as the mayor of Dolton. 2 weeks ago, the township board passed an ordinance that allows Henyard to continue collecting her $224,000 a year salary. But if anyone other than Henyard gets the job, the ordinance resets that salary to $25,000 a year. Odelson says that's blatantly unconstitutional because you can't set an elected official's salary based on who's holding the seat.
You put a salary to attach to the job, to the officer. So it is a blatant attempt to dissuade other people from running and to allow the current supervisor to maintain the $250,000 or whatever it is obnoxious salary.
I didn't receive any information, actually literally till I sat down for the meeting.
No, so you didn't know this was coming?
No.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says he didn't vote for the ordinance because he was handed the 7-page document at the start of a meeting and didn't even have a chance to read it. Gonzalez says it's clear Henyard is trying to ward off an election challenge by cutting the salary of anyone who beats her by nearly 90%.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? Roland Martin should have said, well, what you're doing is wrong. You don't think what you're doing is wrong, dropping the salary from, $225,000 a year all the way to $25,000 is wrong, okay? That's something that, may be against the Constitution. He didn't really ask her that. He didn't press her on the fact that she did this. But when he did press her a little bit in terms of getting some clarification on it, she claims that, well, it's not my fault. This ordinance was already in place when I got into office, which is not entirely true. Again, if you do some research, because I actually found the ordinance that she was talking about that happened under the previous guy, Frank Zaccarelli, who died in office, and she replaced him. This is why her salary is as high as it is, which, again, I think Roland Martin should have pressed her and said, well, why not drop it to something more reasonable, like, I don't know, $75K or something, okay? Because, $200K is way too much. I think there is something to be said about the salary being $200K, okay? But he should have said, well, why don't you drop it down to a more reasonable amount, regardless of whether or not you get elected? That would be the right thing to do, okay? But again, he didn't ask her that. However, her, again, built-in defense is that, well, this was going to happen anyways, right? This was what the previous person had did. Again, which is not exactly true, because I found what they did, and this is what they did, okay? Which also is corrupt as well, too, which they set the salary of the Thornton supervisor position based off tenure. How many terms had the person been in office? Okay, so if it's your first term, then the salary drops to $57,000. If you're full time, which I'm not sure exactly what that means. Okay, if you're the supervisor, I guess you're the supervisor. And then, part time is $48,000, right? So Tiffany Henyard is trying to say, well, that was already in place when I got here, but that's not exactly true, because she completely replaced this with her new ordinance that overrides that, right? So it overrides what the previous township supervisor had done, which is to set the salary based off term limits. Again, both of these township supervisors were corrupt, okay? I mean, this is an attempt to try to dissuade people from running against them. So again, there's a history of corruption in this town, but what she's saying is not true, right? In the sense that she's trying to act like, well, the ordinance was already in place. The only thing that we did is that we just changed it so that the salary is even lowered to $25,000, when that's not the case. They rewrote the whole thing. And again, here you can read it, that this ordinance supersedes past ordinances that contradict this ordinance, okay? Again, this ordinance sets a salary $25,000 regardless of term limits, right? That is what this ordinance suggests, okay? And it definitely doesn't clarify that, well, this is just for the first term only. We're lowering it to $25,000. No, that's not what it does. It just sets a salary, hey, $25,000, okay, regardless of term limits, okay? If Tiffany Henyard is not reelected, right? Which, again, this is stuff that Roland Martin should have known about. Again, if he came to the interview actually ready to press this woman like he would have had this woman been somebody that he disagrees with politically. Again, it's amazing how that works. Amazing how that works. So on to the next thing, right? We got to talk about Tiffany Henyard's charity, in which Roland Martin asked Tiffany Henyard a softball question when it comes to her charity and doesn't really follow up with the proper questions to actually get the real answers about the corruption allegations involving a charity that clearly and obviously belongs to her.
This is from CBS affiliate there. Says that the accusation comes at the same time the Illinois Attorney General's office told Henyard's charity multiple times in recent months to stop improperly soliciting donations because it had not registered with the state as required by law. And you said that's not your charity.
Correct.
Okay. So were you ever? So show the video here. 'Cause I'm trying to understand this here. So this is a video of you marching with the charity. So what is this?
So what they're not telling you is we literally walked to Springfield to create a bill to help anybody that suffered from cancer, whether it's the village of Dolton, Thornton Township, and then I increased it to the state of Illinois. And that bill will help people by giving them $10,000. And that's a bill that we actually are initiating, and we're still working on it. When I went through the Republican states, the Republican areas, we didn't have any issue. Everybody was on board because everybody is suffering from cancer or knows someone that passed or is actually going through it. So that was the whole purpose of the walk, to basically bring awareness and bring people together. That's what the whole purpose of it is.
But if you had, so there were folks with signs saying Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. Who was that?
What do you mean? It's everybody. Everybody was there.
No. What I'm saying is, what is the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation? You said it's not affiliated with you at all.
Correct.
Well, what is it?
So someone made up a foundation. They named it after me, and they like my work that I do in the community, and it's called Tiffany Henyard Cares. So we all went.
But they weren't registered. Have you contacted them and told them you can't use my name improperly?
Well, my lawyer's handling a lot of that stuff, so all I can tell you is that I'm not the one on anything. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer to the best
So you're
of my ability.
saying there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
Okay.
Wow. Again, Roland Martin should be ashamed of himself. Again, just a disastrous job here, okay? Because again, any basic research would have told this guy that, hey, this woman is acting like some random person started a charity, and well, I'm just supporting it because my name is on it, right? Which again is amazing to me how Roland Martin fails to follow up with the obvious question. If he just did 1 second of research into this thing, which is why this is controversial, which is that, well, you have an administrator that is on your board who is the registered agent. He is the person that is on the documentation for the charity. So how can you sit here and act like some random person that you don't know made this charity and that somehow, some way you haven't been in communication with them or you don't know what's going on when you quite literally have meetings with this person and he sits right beside you in the town meetings, and you're also spending town money, town resources in order to support the charity, and it's all on video and documented.
It's also the name of her charity.
Check it out.
The Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation posts videos highlighting walks and other events that prominently feature the politician proudly promoting her cancer charity.
I just want people to know that, hey, Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation is here. We will help anybody in need.
She certainly may help some, but Henyard's charity has failed to file required financial statements showing income and expenses. WGN Investigates obtained this letter from December in which the Illinois Attorney General threatened civil penalties are imposed against persons who do not register with this office as required.
But there's no foundation in the state of Illinois moving like we moving and shaking and grooving like we doing. Right? That's right.
Henyard mixes her 2 taxpayer-funded jobs and charity work.
Anybody else after that, Betty? That's it.
That's Keith Freeman sitting next to her at a Dolton meeting where he's the village administrator. Freeman is also an advisor to Thornton Township, and he's the guy listed as the registered agent of Tiffany Henyard's foundation. And other critics say public money has been used to fund Henyard's private charity. They say board members were asked to approve a $10,000 payment to the foundation in 2022, days before a much publicized cancer walk from Dolton to Springfield. Thornton Township credit card records show taxpayers then footed the bill for more than $10,000 in hotel rooms along the route.
I saw the video. Township vehicles being used, township employees being used. Once again, were they paid? Were they given comp time or things of that nature? So there's just, unfortunately, there's a long list. Hotel use, meals.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. Again, Roland Martin should be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed of himself for this embarrassing interview that he did with his woman, where he failed to hold her accountable, despite the fact that he claims to be so pro-black. Because we all know, if she was a black conservative, he would have held her feet to the fire. He would have had all the receipts. All the receipts. But because it is a black Democrat woman, he gave her a softball interview where he refused to actually press her on her clear and obvious lies. Lies that could have been easily called out had he done any research before actually conducting this interview. Right? Any research. He could have called her out on her lies. But hey, these are the same people that claim, oh, we're so pro-black. But yet this woman is hurting black folks. She's allegedly misusing funds from taxpayers who happen to be black. Does Roland Martin give a damn about that? Nope. All he cares about is the fact that, well, this woman is under investigation and she has these allegations against her and she's a black Democrat woman. So I got to make sure I give her this softball interview and give her an opportunity to spew her lies on my network so that she has a chance to fool people into believing that she is squeaky clean, right? She's squeaky clean. She's not corrupt. She's not doing all the things that these people accuse her of doing. When the corruption is clear and obviously in your face, easily verifiable. But again, he's not interested in that, though. He's not interested in that. And again, I'm not sure if Roland Martin calls himself a journalist, but if he calls himself a journalist, he should quit, right? He should quit, okay? He should quit. He actually should delete and take down the interview. That's how shameful that interview is. But like I tell you guys all the time, these people are not really pro-black. They're pro-Democrat. They're pro-liberal. They're pro-progressive. And they use their blackness as a shield to push a progressive agenda, a Democrat agenda, a liberal agenda that ultimately ends up hurting black people. And they will cover up for it. They will support it. They will protect it. Again, because it aligns with their political agenda. And that's what you're seeing right here from Roland Martin. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.